love you, Starbuck. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And holy shit, they're doing it. My name is Shahir Dowd.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film The End of Oak Street.
Did we see the beginning of Oak Street?
Did we get through the middle of Oak Street?
Yeah. It was a
bicycle down.
There was a Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's just the end of Oak Street.
And I think I have that song. I don't even know who sings it.
That was the worst dad joke ever.
I know.
Yeah.
I keep having the song, and I just realized why, because we're doing this podcast down on Main Street. Who sings that?
It sounds like Steely Dan or something like this, but it's
Email
not.
us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Don't look it up, Shahir. Don't look it up. And
I'm so wrong. I'm so wrong.
They're going to tell us.
Yeah.
And then you don't win anything. But what you can do, dear listener, before we begin, is even if you listen to us predominantly on an audio podcast format, even though you can't see our beautiful visages, we do have a YouTube page. And you should go there and subscribe over there as well. The numbers help bump us, and we would very much appreciate it. Also, drop a comment leaving Who Sings Down on Main Street, if that is its actual name, on the podcast for The End of Oak Street.
And just to add on to that one final time, we still have no takers, although we did have one winner of my Back to the Future box set, which I'm kindly giving away, even though it is used.
It's a box set?
It is a box set.
I thought it was just Back to the Future.
No, it's a 4K
it's all three?
Blu-ray of 1, 2, and 3 with all the director's commentaries, all the special features. The only reason I'm giving it away is I accidentally bought a new version, which happens to be in 4K, and I have not watched.
So you're not giving away the 4K one?
I'm not going to give away the 4K one because it cost me $50.
No. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying I just want to make sure your wording is very specific of what you're doing.
Yeah. So just for listeners at home, a couple of weeks ago, I felt like watching Back to the Future, and I was like, oh, I don't own Back to the Future. So I then purchased Back to the Future on Amazon and got a 4K Blu-ray box set of the thing, only to put it on my shelf and realize I owned a Blu-ray box set of Back to the Future, which I have not watched. And I will happily give it away. There's actually a few of these on my shelf, which I will try to give away on the podcast over the next few weeks. I've got a copy of Cape Fear, and a really exciting one, a Criterion Collection copy of Breathless, which I own 2 copies of for some reason.
Wow.
I know why. It's a very convoluted story about that one, but we'll get to it when it gets to it.
Sure.
So here's the rub on this one. I want you to answer 2 specific questions. Email us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. And the 2 questions are, what was the original title of Back to the Future? It was rejected by a studio. And who was originally cast as Marty McFly? So much so, they actually shot, I think, something like 20,
there was a lot of
2 to 3 weeks worth of footage, which you can actually see online. And then he was recast with, of course, Michael J. Fox. So these are easily Googleable answers, but I did appreciate Catherine from Hamburg, who knew these off the top of her head. We have an email, which we'll get to at the end of the episode as well.
Nice.
But before that, is there any other news you want to catch up with?
Whoa, boy. Spider-Man's still making a bunch of money.
Yep.
I still can't get teenage sex and death at Camp Miasma out of my brain. I'm very much looking forward to, we were just talking about this before, a trailer I saw for the film Hope coming out hopefully sometime soon. It felt very of this movie's ilk. That was very neat.
And I think I was mentioning to you as well, the director of Hope, Na Hong Jin, I've actually seen 2 of his 3 Korean films, but the Yellow Sea, The Chaser, and The Wailing, which I'd forgotten about as well. The Wailing and Yellow Sea, I think are exceptionally well made, and he's great. And they just didn't quite hit for me. But The Chaser, if you ever think the serial killer film has been played out and is tired or anything like that, go watch a Korean film, a South Korean movie at some point, because they'll just inject something entirely new to it. The Wailing is his version of The Exorcist, which is got some extraordinary sequences in it. It just didn't quite work for me. But The Chaser, you got to see the movie The Chaser. I'm excited for Hope. It played at Venice, I believe, or somewhere like that, and people flipped out over it. I know there was a couple of conversations around the way it was going to be recut, because they were still finishing the edit at that point. There were a few versions that came out about it. But look, I'm here. And the fact that it's getting kind of a mainstream American audience to go see it is going to be fantastic. The only news I wanted to catch up on was something that happened in April 2026 and relates to this particular movie. Which was that J.J. Abrams' company Bad Robot, which we saw the logo at the front. Side note,
Robot.
I love the original logo title treatment for Bad Robot still has, I think it's turbulent noise as the effect on it from After Effects, and it's the stock version of it. So anyone that uses After Effects will see that effect. And it's kind of crazy. They've updated that logo. They've got this whole brand spanking new version of it, but it'll dissolve to the original logo, which from memory, someone at J.J. Abrams' company just kind of designed really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's literally the smoke behind the robot is After Effects turbulent displace.
There you go.
Just plug and play. But the story that came out in April 2026 is that J.J. Abrams' company, Bad Robot, was moving out of its offices at Warner Brothers and downsizing entirely. I think the idea was that J.J. Abrams was going to move the entire company to New York City. I am so old that I actually was not aware that J.J. Abrams' daughter is Gracie Abrams.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, I didn't even make that connection. But the implication was that they have had a really productive first look deal with both Universal, Paramount, and then with Warner Brothers. But that has not brought sort of the rich fruits that those companies had hoped, and they've downscaled things. So if you go and look at J.J. Abrams' personal IMDb, he's been involved in a lot of television, but really only these two movies, this movie, and he has a new one coming up called The Great Beyond, which is about a fictional fantasy writer. Other thing of note was that J.J. Bad Robot had really been, I don't want to say propped up, but was lucratively involved with the Mission Impossible franchise up until Fallout. And for my money, Dead Reckoning perhaps is a good, look, I'm not a fan of Dead Reckoning Part 1 or Part 2. I think they're inferior in quality to Fallout, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be the case that, the production company's hand has shifted in that. I know Abrams is a fantastic writer, so whether that had any role to that. But look, I think this is interesting because I think one of my first points about the End of Oak Street, before we even get into what the plot synopsis of it is this End of Oak Street is the kind of movie that would have absolutely destroyed the box office had it come out perhaps 20 years ago. In the early 2000s, I think this movie would have destroyed the box office. Obviously, hearkening or in some ways referencing the summer of 1993 when Jurassic Park came out. And Abrams himself has always been implicated as kind of falling in the shadows of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
His films, Super 8 is kind of like E.T. They talked about this one kind of being like Poltergeist, which was not directed by Spielberg, but produced by him.
I kept trying to figure out what point in cinema history did this movie remind me of? Now, granted, the film takes place in 1982, but the style of filmmaking feels old. Not that old, but like where does it land? And maybe it is early 2000s. It kind of feels a little more to me like late 90s.
What I'm saying is that box office wise, I think this movie would have absolutely destroyed the box office in the 2000s.
I understand
it's
that.
100%
I'm
referring to the 90s and 80s.
I know. Yeah. I am yes-anding you and saying while watching this, thinking that as well, I was like, but it also has sort of, and not in every way, but a couple different sensibilities that I was trying to place. Like this movie doesn't feel to me like a film that came out in 2026.
No, that it's 100% has an old school vibe to it. Director is David Robert Mitchell, who I don't know if you saw his film It Follows.
No. Oh, yeah.
It Follows is superb.
Yeah.
The Myth of the American Sleepover was the one before that. I haven't seen Under the Silver Lake. It's odd. I've seen half of Under the Silver Lake, and then I stopped it and was like, I want to pay attention to this.
You're like, you know what? I want to leave the mystery of what's under the Silver Lake.
Well, I don't, Andrew Garfield in that one kind of playing like a sort of Big Lebowski kind of character. And I did want to finish that, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I think It Follows is exceptional. It's one of the best like horror movies that have come out in the last 10 years or so. So I was excited for this, but yeah, there's certainly an interesting throwback quality to this in so much as, we talked about Spielberg. Poltergeist is directed by Tobe Hooper.
This does have a poltergeisty feel.
They talk about it very evocatively being referencing for that. J.J. Abrams, I think at one point, one of his companies was called Bad Hat Harry.
No, that's Singers.
Brian, that you're 100% correct. That's Bryan Singer. Because and I mixed up Bryan Singer and J.J. Abrams, which is a mistake I will not make twice. But that was because they loved the line "That's a bad hat, Harry" from from Jaws.
Yeah. Not to be confused with I Love You, Starbuck.
Yeah, which is from this movie. Yeah, there's an old school throwback quality to this movie that I think plays in its favor to an extent. And I say that as a preamble to the fact that, we just did Disclosure Day and we talked about kind of like the sort of diminishing returns of what a Spielbergian film has, in recent years. But as part of that, I went and rewatched Close Encounters of the Third Kind again and E.T. recently. And I think there is something extraordinary about the way Spielberg directs familial drama.
Sure.
Like in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the opening sequences where we're sort of maneuvering around the house are like a Robert Altman film. They are so... they feel unstaged, but at the same time have so much complexity to them in terms of what the camera is doing in relation to the actors. There are kid actors running around in the scene, overlapping dialogue, and there's so much richness of tapestry to the characters. Like we really understand not just, and I say that in comparison to Ewan McGregor's character in this particular film. Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you know what his job was, why he's not doing well at it, what has happened to him since, and the kind of person he would be doing that job and how that will lead into it. It's kind of like a really rich textural quality.
Yeah.
We also watched Jurassic Park recently, and just the texture of the scientists in that film, like Dr. Alan Grant, Dr. Sadler, is kind of like extraordinary.
That movie is GOAT, and it has a goat.
And it has a goat that gets eaten.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting focus point because you're right. The End of Oak Street feels like those movies, but to an extent only.
Well, so I think it's so interesting because I don't think this film is going for Spielbergian.
Huh.
I don't, because I think it doesn't even come close, nor do I think it's like trying to do the same emotional tricks that it does. If it is trying to do it, holy shit, did they miss the mark. I think they're like, and we'll get into it a bit more but like, I think, yeah, you could look at this. I could see this movie at some point, a different version of it being directed by Steven Spielberg in the late 90s or whatever. Like that would make sense.
Yeah.
But this feels so alien to a lot of the way the special things that you just brought up about how Spielberg deals with family. I don't think like, and to me, this is so far afield, away from that I don't think they're trying for it.
I genuinely think that they are referencing that kind of material. Again, so the famous story with Poltergeist is that it's directed by Tobe Hooper.
Huh?
But the infamous story is that Spielberg ghost directed that whole film.
Yeah.
And I think Spielberg has denied this, in the memory of Tobe Hooper, but also in the fact that Spielberg has interestingly been very protective of his brand, and his brand has somewhat of a family dimension to it and not a horror dimension to it. So Poltergeist is sort of slightly outside of the echelon of where he wanted to work or wanted to be known. But the thing about both Poltergeist, E.T., Close Encounters, Jurassic Park, War of the Worlds, all that stuff, is that it's something that I think also came up in our discussion of Backrooms, is that he's so good at placing the horror of the sort of supernatural, the event, the big, event thing at the center of what is the emotional arc of those characters. And so I think there's a quality to The End of Oak Street, which is about a family that is, splitting up or going through the beginning stages of realizing that they are not quite compatible and, splitting up is going to happen. The sort of the centerpiece of all of Spielbergian 80s drama is a divorce. And that the major event is going to draw out the qualities of either extenuating that or bringing it or diminishing it. Like it's going to bring them back together again, or it's going to pull them apart.
I guess because Spielberg did that really well across a lot of, he didn't invent that.
No,
though.
He didn't. Hitchcock,
Right.
arguably did that as well.
I guess I think that's where
but again, this is also a film with the giant dinosaur in it as well.
Right, which also, of course, but also, and shout out to actually a friend of the show, Patrick Willems, one of his recent videos on why there haven't been more dinosaur cinema. That's a question I've often asked, because they're not You don't need IP for it. Like,
did he reference the Adam Driver film 45 that came out?
I believe he did somewhere,
Right.
but like there's just, if you look at like superhero movies or there's the horror movies or these other things like Ghosts or Poltergeist or whatever, there's so many. And dinosaur movies are so few. And so this weirdly, and I think because Jurassic Park casts a
65, by the way, not 45.
Yeah, 65 million.
Yeah, just add 20.
Yeah. I think that like Jurassic Park and the franchise leaves such a long shadow that I think maybe people just don't think so. But it's also, he posits, and I don't want to give away everything, go watch that video, but he posits like just because there's a giant Hollywood version of a type of movie, that's never stopped other companies from doing another version of that movie, right? Like, and dinosaurs,
100%. Like,
it's so weird.
Well, the other example would be Jaws, for example, where, like how many shark movies have there been other than Sharknado and Deep Blue Sea, since Jaws? And I would venture to say, for me, the reason is dinosaurs are such a specific subset of A, visual effects, and B, category of storytelling that it requires sort of like a kind of narrative maneuvering to put dinosaurs in a movie.
Maybe, but like, I feel like we're going to kind of go back and forth on, at least I will. I'll tell you, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm going to go back and forth praising this movie and making fun of it, the end of Oak Street. Because I think one thing it does incredibly right is its premise. Like, I don't give a shit as to why this is happening, because that's not what the movie's about. The movie does a really good job of, in the background, while you're learning about the family and like what's going on, having news reports or other things about, oh, there's some temporal space anomalies. That's weird. And then like there's a couple flashes of light and a weird plant. And then all of a sudden, the major premise of this is a minor spoiler, I'm sure, but is that their entire town has been sucked through some sort of wormhole and is now back in prehistoric times.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Yep.
I loved the loosey-goosiness of that because I'm not here for the explanation, nor do I think that the writing as I experienced in this movie could support an explanation I would be happy with. They were smart enough to this happened for some reason. And the world around them did a lot of, both in the macro and the micro, does a lot of really wonderful foreshadowing and I would say like allowance of information to make bits of the movie, if not make sense, feel like they're appropriate in the world that they're building. Case in point, a minor one, eventually Anne Hathaway, who by the way carries this movie on her fucking back, she grabs a gun at a certain point and is just real fucking good with it. And you're like, whoa, huh? And then
it's explained.
There's
enough.
a photo that you pan by just in a tiny shot where she like is either out hunting or at like a shooting competition. So you're like, got it.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway knows how to shoot a gun. Like there's lots of that in this movie. Anytime that there's it's funny. Nothing is ever a hand wave. They just do kind of enough of an explanation to have it make sense.
Yeah.
And I really like that from a world building perspective. Sorry. I didn't even read what End of Oak Street was about.
Yep.
Because the Internet Movie Database here, it says that the End of Oak Street is the Platt family bands together to navigate their new surroundings after a cosmic event transports their suburban neighborhood to someplace unknown.
It does feel, I agree with you 100% that the premise is sufficiently explained, but also unexplained enough to make it sort of fit within the world of like the Twilight Zone, where you're just kind of dropped in it and it's like, well, we're going to have to deal with the dinosaurs in the backyard right now. And I think that's an extraordinary premise. It's really fun. It works really well when it works. There is, and to that extent, there's a sort of weird quality to this movie, which is like coming back to the original comment that I made, which is that this movie would have killed in 2005 or maybe,
Whatever.
in that region, or even earlier. In so much as the premise feels so unique and original to what we see today with visual effects of this scale that it's just exciting to watch a big screen movie. I took my friend Dave to see this movie, who's the last film I took him to see was Talk to Me. And he is a dad of 3 who doesn't go to the movies very often. In fact, we always joke about the fact that his movie watching habit stopped with James Cameron's The Abyss.
Okay.
And that's how far back it goes. But he's a great dad. B, he's got 3 kids. So I am always really, really grateful when he decides he wants to come out and hang and to go see a movie with me. The real sort of cherry on top was the fact that the movie was 90 minutes. He was like, you know what? I think I can do this. And so we went and saw it, and he was like, I know nothing about it. Ewan McGregor, Anne Hathaway, dinosaurs in the backyard. Maybe there's a secret part of him like, I hope those dinosaurs eat those kids because fuck them kids. But
Wow.
but so I think like it's actually a great sort of movie in that respect, which is that if you want to see dinosaurs attacking people or, like have the Patrick Willem sort of, where are the dinosaur movies? This is a great dinosaur movie. There is a lot of dumbassery in this movie that there is so much dumbassery in this movie where you're just like, there were points where I was just like, had my hands in my head, or my head in my hands kind of going, oh my God. What
Every character is stupid. And not in a fun way.
Yeah.
I think their decisions, like the narrative conceits that they have these characters do, goes beyond a horror movie running up the stairs from the killer. Like it's a level of dumbness where you're like, that's not what a person would do. Like it Scream. I could see someone freaking out and running away from Ghostface and running upstairs because it's the closest exit, and then you realize upstairs you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Here, when there are decisions being made to go somewhere or not go somewhere or do something or not do something, it truly is, and now character does or goes there because script needs to happen now.
There's a moment in this movie where it feels like the characters have made a decision, and I know this is nitpicky and it doesn't really matter. I would probably be more forgiving of this if the movie was kind of funny in this respect, like a Shaun of the Dead, where, there's a zombie apocalypse going on and the characters can kind of lock themselves away to it. But in this movie, the characters kind of like make a sort of meta decision that once they close the wooden door or, polystyrene door, the dinosaurs are outside and they are inside, and therefore they are kind of like immune to dinosaurs at that point. Like they start barricading themselves in, but very flimsily, and in a way that makes me go, no, there are dinosaurs outside, not like there's a threat that can be evaded just by closing the door.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would do in this situation.
I don't know what I would do either, but
barricading didn't bother me because, I mean, at some point, and especially
what else can you do?
Especially because it's just a circle of their like block.
Yeah.
In the middle of the prehistoric jungle. They have nowhere to go.
But I don't think they knew that at that point. They've kind of just, they're making presumptions, but also like they're drinking milk, eating cheese and crackers. And I was just like, these do not feel like the decisions of a movie where dinosaurs have appeared in a neighborhood.
Well, the milk thing, I don't think the dinosaurs had come yet, or maybe they had, but I think this is what I liked about it, actually.
Yeah.
Up to the point when you start seeing some real dino chaos. It's a family that lost power and doesn't understand why, and some weird stuff's going on.
Right.
So they're not open in the fridge.
That's fine. Morning, I anything in the morning, I can kind of understand.
Wait, and then actually, no, I think actually they did see dinosaurs and realize that they were trapped at that point, which is like, this is the last of the milk. And there's just an interesting moment where one of the kids says like, well, I guess we're never gonna have milk again. And then they do dinosaurs have milk or like whatever?
But they're sort of doing it in this way, which is like, oh, the dinosaurs are outside. We're okay in here. Let's just like chat.
I guess what would you do though? Like that didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like, because what else can you do? Like there's literally nothing.
They've also witnessed their neighbor outside the window being like torn apart limb from limb.
This movie is violent.
By pterodactyls.
I thought it was R. It's not. It's PG-13. It is violent as fuck.
In the famous way that Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark ushered in the PG-13 movie, because it's extremely violent, but it has that sort of like kids might be interested in this kind of thing. So we should, like the MPAA kind of has this sort of broader quality to it where it's like, well, yeah, violence, but also dinosaurs.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm remembering the kid from the Mitchells versus the Machines who only talks about dinosaurs. And I can imagine there would be a quotient of parents who'd be like, I'm willing to forego the fact that this is a very violent movie, but dinosaurs.
Also, shout out to dinosaurs having some hair, some feathers, some fur, some other things.
The entire through line of Jurassic Park is dinosaurs have more in common with modern day bird than they did with reptile.
And I really liked the raptors in this one. They felt dangerous and nothing like the Jurassic Park ones, which is fun.
They had more of the bird-like quality, which I really liked as well.
I liked every bit of every dinosaur thing. I love the big snake. Big snake shows up twice. Really, really fun
Big
every
snake
time.
Seems like a real prankster.
I liked Big Snake.
Big Snake was like, I'm just lounging in the pool.
having lived with a ball python for 3 years of my life. It's funny when that big snake was crawling through the house. I was like, yeah, Phoebe would do this. It wouldn't matter that if she was giant or not. The snake. So like, I don't know. I think the dinosaur stuff, every bit of the dinosaur stuff really worked for me.
Yeah.
I liked that they held off on it for a long time too. Like I think the build of this hour and a half movie is really solid.
Yeah.
Because it really nails down the fear of, yes, of course, there's something out there that's big and scary and whatever, and by the end of the day, it's dinosaurs, but also like the isolationist, the you are truly alone. Your block that's it.
Yeah.
Is kind of one of the most terrifying things. Because like to your point, like they're barricading themselves in. What do they do? Like every way that this human family in 1982 has ever lived is now fucked.
Yeah.
They're going to run out of gas. They're going to run out of food. They're going to run out of water.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
And like, I liked, even though I'm saying a lot of positives, I think 90% of the dialogue in this movie is trash. Like every time a character opened their mouth, I was like, just stop.
Yeah.
Like it was not like nothing felt right.
Sorry.
No. And I was going to say like, even down to like the relationships the characters had with each other, like the family made sense. Sure. That's fine. The neighbor girl that like the son is kind of pining over, but then the neighbor girl might be pining for the daughter, but that doesn't go anywhere. Like there's just like a weird, like that character to me felt, I was a bit like, I don't understand what exactly is happening outside of, oh, maybe that character exists specifically for the final question of the movie.
Yeah, sure.
And I go back to, so the kids, I think the two children actors in this film who I'm not familiar with, Maisie Stella and Christian Convery. They play Brian and Audrey Platt. Anne Hathaway is Denise, and Ewan McGregor is Greg. Anne Hathaway, I saw an Onion article. It was so funny. It was like U.S. in fear that Anne Hathaway is supporting entire economic growth for 2026. Like not that this movie's doing bank at the box office, but Anne Hathaway is in literally every fucking goddamn movie now, and I'm not complaining. I think it's great. I love it.
I was joking about the fact that like she's pregnant this year.
Yeah.
And there must have been some decision at some point which was like, all right, I'm going to bank some Devil Wears Prada money. I'm going to bank some Odyssey money. I'm going to bank some Oak Street money, and then I'm good for the next 4 or 5 years. No, she's wonderful. Look, we had that period. I think it was after her Oscar win for Les Miserables where she was. It was sort of like cool, or I don't know. There seemed to be some vibe shift against her, in so much as she felt like
she was everywhere, and then everyone gets mad when someone's everywhere. It happened to Pedro Pascal. It happened to Jennifer Lawrence. It happens to all these people where it's like when they're everywhere, and then all of a sudden people just decide to turn on them.
Yeah, but she's had an incredibly storied career. She like one of my favorite movies of hers is Rachel Getting Married.
Yep,
I think she's amazing in that film. I think she's amazing in kind of everything she does. She like. I said this about Devil Wears Prada Part 2, which is like, she's just so good.
Yeah.
Like I didn't love that movie, but I was just like, Anne Hathaway rules.
So put that type of performer in this movie, and you put him next to Ewan McGregor, and I was like, yeah, this is going to go great. Like, I love Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor is a phenomenal actor.
This is the thing I wanted to get into.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
There's just, to me, the problem is Ewan McGregor is a really interesting actor, capable of so much. Like the last thing I saw him in that he was just wonderful in was Fargo. Season 2 of Fargo or something like that. Extraordinary actor. Also, watch his TV show where he travels around the world on a motorbike. Great stuff. There's no tapestry like the kind I was speaking about in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., Jurassic Park, Poltergeist, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade. There's no tapestry to this person that is interesting other than he is a dad who has lost his job and is about to get divorced. It's not like those three things are true of many of the other characters that I've just described, or in other films.
But you can kind of like understand them as a person.
You also like there's a richness to them where you kind of like feel like there's more to this person than just those three things. Whereas, like to the extent that I was watching and going, what an interesting choice to have Ewan McGregor speaking in an American accent here, because it was like if he'd just spoken in his Scottish accent, he would have been automatically 5 times more interesting.
Yeah.
Because now you would be like, oh, this is a guy who moved in with this family from Scotland. So he migrated from somewhere else. And so he's got this thing going on and he's delivering pizzas now. He's like, his version of the American dream is like change. Just like that one, just like, little change.
Instantly more.
There's instantly more
layered.
There's more layers to him all of a sudden. Like she, her character has an interesting thing, which is that she has written this book. Yep. And there is a very vivid picture in the book of a woman who is ready to walk away from her family. And so that is, like that is interesting. And there's some detail here.
There's even a really nice moment when the basement floods and like she loses the manuscript and she like freaks out about it and like doesn't tell the kids about it.
And she meets the neighbor who is like editing the book and said, like I've helped edit so many writers who have not been appreciative of the work I've done. And that's not going to be the case with you. So there's automatically an interesting.
She has layers.
Yeah. Layer to her. But like he is literally divorced dad, lost job, slightly alcoholic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the alcoholic thing played in not at all.
Yeah, I was like, that. I guess that was my point to the milk thing. Was this like him taking a swig of whiskey made perfect sense to me?
No, but like,
you know what I mean?
But okay, so yes, but here's the deal. So
there are dinosaurs outside.
The milk thing makes sense to me in a tiny bit of world building fear, like the aloneness of the entire thing and realizing the creature comforts of your life are now gone. The whiskey thing makes total sense from a oh god, yeah, I'm gonna fucking take a swig of whiskey if I had it, because if I'd be stuck here. But then like when it becomes like he might be an alcoholic, maybe wink, I'm like, that doesn't change a lick of anything in this non-relationship.
I'm being unfair about the milk thing. It's not that they're drinking milk. I actually like the idea that they're going, well, we're never gonna have milk again. Yeah. That's a great line. It's more the fact that they've closed the door and presuming that they're completely safe and isolated inside and drink milk as though dinosaurs weren't outside the house.
I just don't know. You can't. You can't be huddled in a corner for 30 hours or whatever.
But they're also like they're packing and planning and like doing things that like make it seem like maybe it's not just dinosaurs. It seems like there might be a hurricane coming.
Well, so then there's the interesting concept, but failure completely in dialogue of the sort of difference in methodology between Denise and Greg, where Greg is like,
he's got faith.
Yeah, he got faith all the time. He's also got faith, but like more like a and this to the movie's credit, I will say this: they paint him as the kind of guy that I actually do dislike. This kind of person where it's just like everything's going to work out. Like, hey, everything's going to work out in the end, and if it doesn't, it's not the end. Like that kind of shit. Like that kind of like the universe will provide in that level of nonsensory nonsense really pisses me off. So like. He has that, and he's like trying to do it to like save face for the kids and like try to show a straight face. But Anne Hathaway's character is like, we have to be real here.
Yeah.
Like, and like not to, and I don't know. I wish that push and pull of blind optimism and sort of like stoic realism was more explored. And maybe that was more of like what their relationship might have been.
Yeah.
But like, they don't do that. I think there's also something here. Ewan McGregor, Anne Hathaway, two people I have seen on screen making me believe that they love another person.
Oh yeah.
Here I feel like they had zero chemistry and they were just kind of like Anne Hathaway doing more heavy lifting, I think, than Ewan McGregor. But like, I barely believed they were married.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, and to be fair, I agree with you, by the way. To be fair, I think the movie is positing that they're coming to an end of their
I
relationship.
barely believe they ever were married.
Yeah. Fair.
Like and it's funny. So like, here I am, I'm poo-pooing across the narrative structure of this and the dialogue specifically. But I do have to say, I think this movie is sort of sloppy in all the ways that usually piss me off enough to make me not like a movie. I think I really liked this movie. Like, I think there's just a level of like the consistency of the unpolish makes me there's something endearing to that. And again, there's a reason why I chose the line about Starbuck the dog.
Yeah.
Because the son says Starbuck like a trillion fucking times in a bunch of dialogue that is needless and bad. And by the end of it, I was like, it's fucking dog, man. And like, don't get me wrong, I like the moment where the dog rescues him from the pterodactyls and he comes back, and it's like, I like that.
Yeah.
But
this is my point. It was like when he jumps out the window to go out to save Starbuck. I know, I understand in the primal nature of a boy and his dog, saving Starbuck means the world. But there are dinosaurs outside, right? And he walks outside as though it was an impending hurricane.
I also love that he has a bow and arrow that he hits nothing with.
Yeah.
Except the snake.
But like they go out, he goes outside and shines a flashlight. And maybe this is like recency bias from like, Jurassic Park and what have you, in terms of like, T-Rex monitors movement. But he's also outside shouting Starbucks' name as though they didn't just see dinosaurs attacking people on the street.
Also, when the sister sees him, she runs out and then they instantly get separated, even though they're both yelling. Yeah. And I'm like, this isn't, everything felt like it happened because the script needed it to happen.
There were just moments where it was like, are we aware that there are dinosaurs here? Like prehistoric creatures that will destroy you limb from limb, as we have seen thus far, indiscriminately, but not if you're shouting out loud and shining. I know this feels like really pushing my nerd glasses up kind of thing as well, but there was a degree of that kind of like made me feel like the movie was operating on a level of dumbassery that I wasn't quite comfortable with.
So you can, this is, I think I go back to sort of classic horror tropes. Like there's running up the stairs and things like that where we're all like, yes, of course, no logical person would do that, but it's kind of a trope and you could freak out and do it.
Yeah.
This is not that.
This is
every decision in this movie is a plot contrivance to get a character into a situation and nothing that an actual human would ever do. And I think that is what sort of makes this one fall, that bit of it fall flat for me. Again, having said that, I had a really fucking good time here. And I want to get into, we're about a little over 2/3 through the podcast here.
Yeah.
I want to get into the moment that like officially sold me on this movie.
We can get to that, but I also want to not understate the 93 minutes of it all.
Yeah,
like the 90. This is a movie that is not demanding a lot of you, and therefore
does not overstay its welcome.
Does not overstay its welcome. It also understands how to execute visual effects in a way that I've often been complaining about, which is that one of the biggest selling tools that you have in this movie to sell a visual effects is Anne Hathaway's giant eyes like widening and when she sees something. And David Mitchell like really knows how to employ that. So that you get the reaction, you understand the thing. You see kind of like in Jaws, we see over the fence something is pulling the lines up, but we don't see what it is.
I loved Ewan McGregor running in that path between the buildings, and then the things just like swing sets and things getting knocked over next to it. Like that's just great.
Yeah, it's like Jaws in terms of like we don't need to see Bruce the shark until we absolutely need to. There is a quality there occasionally that kind of does feel a silly quality to that, where like they'll be standing around and the camera will be pointed in such a direction where dinosaurs, like a T-Rex, will be approaching them and they would have not have heard of it and seen it.
I know this movie does what all Jurassic Park is guilty of this
Jurassic Park is guilty of it, but Jurassic Park does the thing, which is like off-screen space is off-screen space to the audience, not to the characters.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, this does the contrivance of, does the dinosaur need to be loud and scary to be loud and scary? Yes. Does it need to be stealthy to be scary? Yes. Okay, so now it's stealthy.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. The shittiest effects in this movie are in the first 10 minutes of that cookout. The green screen of Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor at like the outside cookout.
Oh. Okay.
Was some of the worst green screen I think I've seen in a long. I was like, they're not even lit from the same side as the background actors are, and I'm like, what is fucking happening here?
That's fascinating because I work in visual effects. There's not a moment in that first scene where I was like going, the green screening is bad. More what I was saying was like the
acting, or the dialogue,
the richness of character wasn't there. That's what I kind of.
I mean, we were 5 minutes in. I was hoping it would get richer.
Yeah.
No,
but that is the difference between Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Jaws, Jurassic Park, E.T., all of those films, is that those characters are really like to the extent where the visual effects, the big event, the big monster could be incidental. Yeah. Like I would watch a movie of those characters without the
totally.
thing.
You know here you're watching it for the dinosaurs.
Yeah. You're waiting for the dinosaurs to come on.
Speaking of when the dinosaurs come on, the T-Rex, the T-Rex coming in.
Yeah. Furry T-Rex.
When they're trapped. I also love that when the mother and father get away, one of the Allosaurus or something like makes the car explode because it throws it into the building, and that starts a fire that's going to burn the town down. You're like, you're fun. Like that,
great escalation of story.
This is a really fun, like, you can't even stay here and pretend to survive. Like, fire's coming for you now.
Yeah, you're done. Although there was an evolutionary part of this that was making me going, is fire going to destroy the dinosaurs? And this, like humans' ability to create fire, is that what's going to destroy dinosaurs? And also, there was another part of me going like, mosquitoes in this world, like the air.
They couldn't. I mean, I was thinking this: they couldn't drink any water that they didn't take with them because it would be full of so many different kinds of bacteria and parasites. You'd be fucked.
Yeah.
But the moment that got me was, and now we're into full blown spoilers: the actual death of Ewan McGregor's character.
Right
when his leg got bit off.
Yeah,
and then he got munched, and the family watched him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like.
Great moment.
I was like, oh, the plot armor's gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's when I dialed in. And I was like, okay, movie, you did the thing. And then as the movie continues, and I wasn't actually expecting this, which I think is why I liked it.
Yeah.
There is a time travel wibbledy wobbly thing that like actually gets him back, but not in a way that I think is entirely clean, which I really do enjoy.
Yeah.
And I just this is a movie that on the macro of its story got to have its cake and have the dinosaur eat it too. Like it was really, really fun in both of these reveal moments. And like I like this movie specifically because they have the moment where she takes the picture of him with the two brontosauruses fucking behind him, and it's very funny and endearing.
Also weird. like
it's super weird, but like this movie was so cookie cutter to that point with this family. I didn't even clock it in the usual way of like, oh, they're buttering him up to die. Like I
didn't clock that. It was more that like
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's good.
Yeah.
Like they like. That's impressive to me. You just did you just fucking took that biscuit and spread a whole bunch of I can't believe it's not butter on it, and I didn't clock it because
for me it was kind of an extension of we haven't acknowledged that there are dinosaurs here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I was just like, that's a friggin' dinosaur, and they're treating it like the fun park ride has stopped for a moment, and they're just free to like giggle around as though nothing is going on.
Yeah.
That was my only thing there. But to your point, the beating heart of the movie is
Starbuck.
Is the idea that Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor are a family that are coming apart, and this event is pushing them back together again. And what's great about Anne Hathaway's performance, the writing, everything in that moment where Ewan McGregor's character is killed, is that she realizes in that moment she can't live without him, or she doesn't want to live without him. And so
I thought the kids could also die at that point. Like the movie does a really good thing of like, oh, are they just gonna die? Like
this is my point about them like frolicking around while dinosaurs were having sex, is that dinosaurs could pop out of any corner in this. It's not like you're isolated from dinosaurs when you turn behind the house.
But the script has them be like that.
Yeah.
You see,
it's like, like any corner you turn, there's a different. There is a snake here. There's all sorts of things. There's pterodactyls flying through the air. There's no moment in any part of this where you are safe from dinosaurs. And the script kind of treats like points where if you're in this house just behind this flimsy little barricade, you're totally fine. That's the kind of dumbassery that I kind of like just couldn't quite get on board with. But what I do like there is that despite all of that, all the wibbly wobbly of time, and you got to ask the question in the Back to the Future sense of time travel, this is actually darker than you think it is.
Yeah.
Because what's happened is they've abandoned a version of Anne Hathaway and the kids in Dinosaur World who will get killed. And say, or
they're the version that actually ends up coming back to save them, depending on how you do it.
I think in the Avengers Endgame kind of quantum theory of time travel, you could probably. What's smart about it is you don't care because you don't need to think about it.
And this is this is the thing I like about it. So the moment that they see the flashes and they realize that these just like portals are opening at random.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
They just have to jump to a portal. Yeah. And I like that they have the conversation of like, I'll go first and you get the kid. Like, no, we're going together. And I love when all the family is on the roof and they're trying to get in and the boy who just sucks at everything jumps, misses, and breaks his leg. And then the pterodactyls come so Starbuck can have his moment.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny to see that and then like have them run downstairs, come back upstairs. The librarian comes out with a gun. Like
it's like that to me is such a great set piece because by that moment in the film, you are aware of how every character is going to react. The stakes have risen so high enough that you are invested in what's going to happen because we know that our main characters could be killed off at this point. Anne Hathaway's character is a mother who says, okay, when they go for me, run for the portal. It's like she's willing to sacrifice herself. The librarian is there. The thing that I was just dreading the most about that moment, just from a writing point of view, was if they tied the portals to the librarian somehow. And like, I was like, oh, I don't want to know this.
I clocked that too. I was like, because she knew what the fucking plant was. And so I was like, are they going to make her like a witch or something? Yeah. I just don't.
Yeah. And I'm really glad they don't. And it's like, I don't need to know. So to the extent, the only question mark I had in my head towards the end, because I think you're right, which is that the idea that she brings back her husband through the pizza delivery thing is very clever. It's a little, long it's a little bit writerly as opposed to like,
essentially when they escape, she goes to a payphone and they're on the edge of town and they have like 15 minutes. So they call all their friends and the husband.
So my biggest qualm there
get them to safety
was there's a sort of writerly quality about that, which is that she knows that the way to drag him out is to get him to buy pizza, but the film has set that up, so it's totally fine.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
The only thing I was like, how many quarters is she carrying around?
And also, no one's going to be listening to her. Or maybe the old lady would, but no one else.
But like also her neighbor, the enemy, enemy neighbor kind of like gets saved as well. This all, like messes with the space-time continuum thing. But like,
and then the friend who plays Jeanette.
Yeah, she runs in.
She runs to go get her family.
But comes back out.
With her and her family.
Yeah, she comes out twice. I thought that was a cool detail.
I think it's interesting. Yeah. I like an idea of, I think was where I landed it. I really like the idea of the world as we know it, having something happen that you cannot explain, time travel, something, whatever. And then you kind of have to just keep living. Like let's think about.
It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah, can we do a thought experiment here?
Yeah.
If all of a sudden, let's even say we're not in this town.
Okay.
Let's say that like this just happened in Chicago.
Okay.
And we know it happened. There is proof that this thing happened, and now it's done and it's not happening anymore. How would we live? like I know we just keep doing the same things we normally do, but like we are, as human beings on this planet, we've figured out to the best of our ability enough stuff where 9 times out of 10, any large global event, we can understand how point A got to point B.
Yeah.
But something like that,
dinosaurs appearing,
would break like the
I just need to go up to my apartment and lock my door, and pterodactyls aren't going to come through the window.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm fine, right? No, I
just like that.
I like that in the sort of Twilight Zone kind of quality that the story has. And I like that she is like the script, despite the dumbassery I'm sort of talking about, it sort of follows from It Follows, which is that, you know, like a great example there is that the analogy in that film is that the monsters coming for you are kind of akin to a venereal disease passed on by people having sex. And I think the sort of great inversion in that particular film, It Follows, hopefully, I guess, you know, it's a 2014 movie, so it's more than 10 years old now. But like the analogy there is that in order to stop the monsters, you need to have sex. And that is an inverse of the sort of prudent theory of horror movies, which is that the virgins don't die. This one is the virgins die. And what I mean by that is David Robert Mitchell is good, very good, in fact, at understanding that the mythology of the world follows an inherent human quality. And where this is all leading to is that Anne Hathaway is a writer, so therefore she has written a book about it, and that is how people are coping with this, is that she has written this sort of like novel about it, and that has propelled their family into some upper echelons, because there's also an interesting class distinction conversation that goes on with the neighbor's daughter who goes to a private school. And she's like, what's it like going to a private school? She says, I've only ever been to a private school. I don't know what it's like otherwise. And there's this sort of like distinction between their family and that family. But it all of those pieces come together. And even the divorce story, as untextured as it is, the beating heart of the movie is the decision that Anne Hathaway's character makes at the end to go to the payphone and call for a pizza. It's writerly, it's a little contrived, but it works. And that is the thing about the movie, is that it is full of dumbassery. It like really will have you like banging your head against the wall in terms of like the sort of movie dumbness of some of the moments that are in this movie. But fundamentally, for 93 minutes, I don't think you can ask for a better time at the movies. Like right now, in terms of like,
you could,
yeah,
but I like this a lot.
Like, to my point, Dave, man, I love, who I think is just great. Like, I want to take him to see the Odyssey. I want to go see the Odyssey, but like that's a 3-hour like thing, and it's like a complicated thing. This is 93 minutes, dinosaurs, a sort of pulled together story about like people coming together, you know, like and a family kind of working together. And that is the heart of what Spielberg was great at. Now, the thing is, when you go back and watch Spielberg's movies now, they're actually not just basic versions of that. They are complicated versions of that. Like the sincerity with which he treats divorce and parents alone is like profoundly better than most dramas achieve today. You know, that's why I said watching Close Encounters was like watching a Robert Altman film.
It's interesting. I think if we look at the end of Oak Street next to Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
I think the end of Oak Street is a way better movie.
Yes.
But
yeah, no, 100%.
But because
No,
what
I don't even think that's like a controversial statement.
Well, like it's just like because it delivers what it's promising to deliver. What it's promising to deliver is a really excellent Domino's pizza.
Yeah.
Well, but like it's a really good night at Domino's.
Here's the thing. The end of Oak Street is a better Spielberg film than Spielberg can deliver now. However, it doesn't hold a candle
to any of the early stuff.
It doesn't hold a candle
or the
to
mid stuff.
to mid-tier Spielberg
Yeah.
from his heyday. You know what I mean?
So like I don't know. I this was such a joy to think about. Like
Yeah.
I think this movie has a lot of fun because I like being a little hater, but I
Yeah.
also like liking stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So like this movie kind of gave me everything I wanted.
The thing I thought about was like, yeah, it's got enough of the stuff that I would like that would instantly turn me off a movie, but it is genuinely fun. Like
Yeah.
it is genuinely engaging to watch. And like, I think when I get turned off by stuff like, you know, what happens in this movie, it's because I don't find the stuff around it to be actually that fun.
Yeah.
Whereas this, like these furry little these furry giant dinosaurs are terrifying, and
They're eating cats.
They're eating. Yeah, like I was terrified for every cat in this movie. More so than I was for Starbuck. I was like, nobody is looking out for that cat.
Starbuck, I thought was going to get got when it had the when it was flying away with the pterodactyl. I was like, oh, if Dad's dying, dog can die.
Oh, dog's done.
Yeah.
Dog's done. I'm surprised dog wasn't eaten by snake like
I
in the
know.
first third of this movie. But regardless, you know, this is an example of, you know, David Robert Mitchell kind of like, in my mind, trying to take on the sort of things that Spielberg would do. And we just don't see those kinds of movies floating around right now. And he's pretty great at this. And J.J. Abrams is a pretty good stalwart to be a producer on this because of like how closely his films have aligned with what Spielberg has tried to do in his best time. Like if you go back and watch Super 8, that is, you know, a sort of Spielbergian type film that he would have made. And it kind of works. It's kind of great.
I think this movie's great. I think you should go see it if you're listening to this and you haven't already. Even with the spoilers, like I think it really works well. And I don't know. It's so in the parts that it's bad, it's so bad it's still good. And I don't know. I like it a lot. I'm very happy this movie exists.
It's hard to kind of have this kind of dissection into it, but there is something to me that was sort of interesting about the racial dynamics of like an African American family, wealthy one, that where the entire dynamics of the family are just wiped out from the movie.
Oh yeah, they're not even characters.
And you know, like the way the movie kind of reforms a family unit is around like this next door neighbor family who is the entire center of the universe, literally the center of the universe because they save and all that sort of stuff. There's probably a great think piece conversation to have around that, but that is like,
well, the Jeanettes will return in Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah, but that does not detract from the fact that the movie is so pleasurable and fun to watch. You know, like we can have those kinds of conversations while enjoying the film as well. That's the point I kind of want to make.
Well, this has been the only podcast about the film The End of Oak Street. But before we go, we have an email to end our own Oak Street episode with.
Doton wrote us in a few weeks ago, and I apologize for this because there was a couple of points to this email where I was actually responding to it. The email is in two parts. One discussing Matt and Chelsea's review of The Invite, which is a film I haven't seen. I feel like the email conversation will have some spoilers for The Invite, so I'm not going to read that portion of the email. So apologies to Doton for that. Perhaps while that movie is not as fresh, we will come back to this. But Doton continues, one last thing before I go. A while back, when Venom 3 was in theaters, I believe Shahir joked about how there wasn't any good reason to cover Venom 3 on the podcast, and I have accepted your challenge. Now, I'm not saying it's a good movie whatsoever, but when watching it, Tom Hardy's love of the character felt like it spread to other parts of the production in a way that the movie, like Deadpool and Wolverine, feels like it should have, but ultimately falls short in accomplishing. There's a dance scene in Venom 3 that is just the wildest idea I've ever seen Sony Pictures put to screen that puts all of Deadpool and Wolverine to shame. So if you're ever in need of an episode idea, how about one where you all compare and contrast the influences of the modern movie star serving and more as an executive producer on set and how that has ultimately shaped cinema culture in today? I feel like Venom 3 is such an interesting vehicle for that whole thought experiment. Thanks again for the great work you do, Doton.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, in rewatching the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, there was a in-credit scene where Tom Hardy's Venom appears, and it appears that they're going to like join the two characters together. And I thought that was, potentially interesting, just because Venom's a sort of fascinating foil. And Gerard Milligan on Black Men Can't Jump said something this week that I
also going to be on Smarty Pants on Dropout.
Okay, I don't know what that is. But said something interesting this week, which is that when he rewatched the 3 Spider-Man films with the Tom Holland Spider-Man films, he said none of the villains are actually Spider-Man villains. His point was that they were all antagonists of other characters. So the Vulture hates Iron Man. Mysterio hates Iron Man. All of the villains from the other Spider-Man movies are there to destroy the other Spider-Mans. And so Tom Holland hasn't like had a sort of nemesis. And in the sort of way that like they are diametrically opposed to them. Like I guess it's not a spoiler anymore, but Jean Grey isn't really an enemy of Spider-Man. She's just, doing something.
Totally not killing people. The writer said so.
I thought this was a great point. And it would have been interesting, I guess, to see Venom, play in that role some way, but I don't think that's where those movies have gone.
You know what's interesting though? I think that is a fun thought experiment. However, I will push back on the first 2 Tom Hollands because yes, Vulture doesn't give a shit about Tony Stark. They give a shit about the government fucking with them, and that's why they become basically like a smuggler.
No, he gives a fuck about Tony Stark because he cares that Tony Stark gets away with this while he doesn't get to.
There's one line, but it's not like he has a deep, like for instance, I would say Mysterio has a very deep-seated, having worked at Stark Industries and Tony's, like I think that's what it is. But then what happens with both of them, regardless of their buy-in of that, whether it's a single line or a total ideology, is Spider-Man then gets in the way and then becomes the main thing. In many villains in all of comic books, Spider-Man specifically, are all going about their own evil shit, and then with the exception of Venom, I would say, because Venom is a being that was spurned by Peter Parker Spider-Man and therefore has a thing, even though sadly the Sonyverse Venom probably will never meet Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
One thing just in that reference, the thing I noted this when I saw that the director of Venom had been announced, but the director of Venom is Kelly Marcel, who started the theater company with Tom Hardy many years ago and has been a writer on these movies for a while. So, to Dotan's point about the actor as executive producer on the film and being invited to kind of like shepherd the character in some way, I think that would be a really interesting example of like an actor kind of influencing who gets to make this movie.
I also think so. Tom Holland, also a producer on Brand New Day, also I found out today, due to the success of it, has made upwards of $100 million on it, and that might actually knock him in front of Downey, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But like, I guess that's a good point, right? Like when you have when you have an actor who, I would honest Tom Hardy and Tom Holland, I think both do give a shit about Venom and Spider-Man. I think they actively do. I think that's why the movies are as good as they are.
Yeah.
And I think that when you get that much power and things are going well and you get to actually be a producer on it, that can only help if you actually do care about the silly tights wearing nonsense.
Yeah, you get to shepherd the character in some way because you.
But I like Dotan's idea about sort of exploring that at some point. Maybe we will.
The only counterpoint to this, just very briefly, is I did hear this quote that I just found very true, and I can't remember who said this, but it was something along the lines of like, if you're ever on a film set and you witnessed one of 2 of these events happen, you will see such a different reaction, which is one, if the actor fucks up, doesn't know their lines, what have you, they'll kind of be like, okay, let's get this right kind of thing. They'll kind of be a jokey kind of thing. But if you ever see like a grip miss a mark or a focus puller, like miss the focus point, it's like, it's the end of the world for that person. And more often than not, if that happens more than once or twice, the production will, get rid of that person. Now, this is obviously the economies of scale at play here. The actor is in front of the camera. Nobody cares who the grip or focus puller is. But it is like this difference of power that one wields, which is that, this person doesn't get to make mistakes under any circumstances, and this person gets to make all the mistakes they can in order to help explore the character kind of thing. I just thought it was a very true observation, and it made me think about how sets operate in terms of my production.
Yeah. Hey, Shahir, when you are not making the best bad decisions when boarding up your dinosaur-proof home, where can folks find you?
You can find me nailing things incorrectly at my website, suvanova.com. That's SUVANOVA.com. Matt, when you are plucking furry Tyrannosaurus Rex dinners for your Flintstone meals influenced meals, where can people find you?
You can find me doing that when I have to go outside, specifically pulling those boards out of the wall like they weren't nailed on over at my website, Extra History and Extra Credits. By the time this comes out, not to bring the mood down, but we have a very, very, very interesting and what I would consider important series due to the fact it is echoing some things that we are experiencing now on the Kent State shootings.
Right.
That episode will be out by the time this drops. It'll be, I think, 24 hours fresh. So please go check that out. Also on credits, I believe we're going to have a short talking about how Nintendo's litigious patent grabs are actually hurting all of Nintendo's patents.
Right.
It's very weird, but they keep trying to get Pal World, this game that has Pokemon-esque things in it. But it turns out you can't just add "but on mobile" to a patent and expect it to work. It's fucking crazy, man. Japanese patent law is bonkers. Anyway, next week.
There's a bunch of things. You know, I am excited for Coyote versus Acme.
I'm excited for Coyote versus Acme.
I don't think that's next week, though.
There's also a streaming movie that I wanted to do that I can't remember off the top of my head, so I must really want to see it. We'll figure it out.
Email us in onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what you want to see, what you're wanting us to talk about, or if you just want us to shut up, email us and tell us about that.
Tell us your favorite dinosaur.
Yeah.
And it better be Starbuck.
That's not a dinosaur.
Bye!
See ya.